Someone had the exact week you just had. Same bills, same bad news, same slow-motion Monday that wouldn't end. And by Friday, they were fine. Not lucky, trained. 9 habits, so small they never made it into a book title. And habit 5 is the one almost nobody mentions, because it's the one that quietly changes how every other habit on this list actually works. Stoic wisdom, old philosophy, actually used. Let's get into it.
Most of what's coming you'll half recognize the second I say it. That's not a flaw, that's the whole point. The Stoics weren't sitting on a hidden formula. They were naming things we're too busy scrolling to notice. So don't treat this like trivia. Treat it like something to take. Here's why it has to be built this small instead of chased in one big win. Psychologists call it the arrival fallacy, the belief that the new job, the relationship, the number in the account will finally make you happy permanently. It won't. People hit the goal, feel the spike, and within weeks they're back to their old baseline, already eyeing the next thing as the real one this time. Happiness built on arrival keeps arriving and never sticks. The Stoics never had that word for it. They just built something that doesn't reset. Habit 1. The morning loss rehearsal. Nothing you own is actually guaranteed. Not your health, not your people, not today. Epictetus taught that forgetting this is exactly what turns ordinary loss into betrayal, because we treat what we have as owed to us instead of lent to us. 10 seconds tomorrow, before your phone. Picture one small thing you have not existing. Then go use it like you noticed. Small start. Here's the one it quietly sets up. Habit 2. The line between yours and not yours. Epictetus opened his entire teaching with a single split. Some things are within your power. Most things aren't, and nearly all human misery comes from confusing the two. He wasn't guessing at this from comfort. He taught it after years enslaved, having lost almost everything that wasn't his to keep, and kept the one thing that was. So ask yourself the next time something goes sideways today, is this mine to fix or mine to respond to? Different question, different afternoon. That one's about what's inside your control. This next one is about who's standing next to you while you try to use it.
Habit 3. Choosing who gets to shape you. Seneca told Lucilius, letter after letter, that character is contagious. Spend time around people who complain, and you'll complain more fluently. Spend time around people who are steady, and steadiness gets easier to reach for. He wasn't talking about willpower. He was talking about exposure, the same way you'd catch a mood without trying to. Not a dramatic cutoff, just an honest audit. After every conversation this week, give it 3 seconds. Did you leave that heavier or steadier? You don't have to act on the answer yet. Just start collecting it. Now, zoom all the way out, because the next habit only works from a distance. Habit 4. The view from above. Marcus ran an empire across 3 continents, and he still used to mentally pull his own view back. Army, enemies, entire reign, seen from high enough that it finally looked the size it actually was. He did this on purpose, as a repeated exercise, not as a one-time realization he assumed would stick. The brain treats whatever's closest as whatever's biggest, which is why one bad email at 9 a.m. can feel like a crisis and be forgotten by Tuesday. Picture the thing that's bothering you right now from 100 feet up, then 100 years out. Watch how much of it survives the trip. Now, here's the one almost nobody talks about, and it's less a habit than a complete reversal of how you relate to the past. Habit 5. Wanting what already happened. There's an old Stoic line that fate leads the person who's willing and drags the person who isn't. Same event, same road, entirely different experience depending on which one you are. This isn't passive resignation, and it isn't pretending things don't hurt. It's the difference between "this shouldn't have happened" and "this happened, so now what?" The first sentence keeps you relitigating something you can't edit, sometimes for years. The second is the only sentence that ever points forward, and it's available the moment you decide to say it, not the moment you feel ready. Next time something breaks that you can't fix, say the second sentence out loud, even before you believe it. Saying it first is usually how belief catches up. But here's the part almost nobody expects. This idea gets tested in the worst way imaginable, on a person, not a metaphor. Habit 6. Pain is information, not catastrophe. Epictetus, while still enslaved, is said to have had his own leg broken by his master. The accounts describe him staying almost eerily calm through it, at one point simply quietly warning that if it continued, the leg would break, and when it did, responding with something close to, "Didn't I tell you that would happen?" No collapse, no performance, just a man who'd already separated the fact of the pain from the story he was going to tell himself about it. That's the actual habit. Pain is data, suffering is the narrative you optionally add on top, and the two arrive separately even though they feel simultaneous. The next time something genuinely hurts, try naming only the fact of it out loud, without the verdict attached. "This hurts" is a sentence. "This is unbearable" is a decision. Notice which one you're reaching for, and notice that you're allowed to put the second one down even when you can't put the first one down. That was the hardest one on this list. Here's how you rebuild after something like it. Habit 7. Reading the obstacle as instruction. Marcus wrote that whatever blocks an action becomes the way forward, because the block itself teaches something the smooth path never would have. The founder of the entire Stoic school learned this the expensive way. He lost his whole cargo shipment in a shipwreck, walked into a bookshop with nothing, picked up a book on Socrates out of boredom, and built a philosophy out of what should have ruined him financially instead. He didn't recover from the wreck, he was redirected by it. Next time something blocks you, skip the "why is this happening to me?" Ask what it's forcing you to learn that the easy version never would have. Same wreck, different outcome. This next one isn't about thinking your way through anything. It's the opposite. It's about doing the uncomfortable thing on purpose before you need to.
Habit 8. Rehearsing the discomfort you're afraid of. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, deliberately set aside days to eat plain food, wear rough clothes, sleep on a hard floor. Not punishment, practice. He wanted to know, from experience rather than fear, that losing the comfort wouldn't actually end him. And he kept doing it even after he no longer had to prove it to anyone but himself. Most fear about money or status isn't about the thing itself. It's about an ending that's never once been tested. Skip one small comfort this week, on purpose, something you'd normally never go without. You'll still be standing at the end of it. That's the whole lesson, and it only works if you actually feel it. 8 habits in, and every single one of them was practiced on a calm day, with nothing real on the line. This last one is different. You don't get to rehearse it gently, because it only shows up once, under conditions you don't choose. Habit 9. Deciding your reaction before the moment that demands it. In 46 BC, Cato the Younger found himself on the losing side of a civil war, cornered in a city about to fall to a man he refused to legitimize by asking for mercy. He spent his final night reading Phaedo, a dialogue about the soul facing death without fear, calmly, twice through. He said goodbye to his friends without theater, refused the mercy that would have cost him his integrity, and made sure the people around him he'd made his peace before they did. And when the moment came, there was no scramble, no last-minute negotiation with himself, because the decision had already been made on every ordinary day that led up to it, long before it was the only day left.
That's not a temperament you're born with. That's 9 small habits repeated until the biggest one didn't need deciding in the moment because it had already been decided in advance. You won't face anything close to that this week. You'll face something smaller, a canceled plan, an unfair comment, bad news that turns out survivable. And the only real question is whether you already decided how you'll meet it or you're improvising it exhausted in real time. Pick the one thing you already suspect is coming. Decide right now, calmly, how you'll meet it. When it shows up, you won't be reacting, you'll be running something you already chose. So, here's all 9 back to back. 1 loss rehearsed each morning so it can't blindside you later. 1 line drawn between what's yours and what's not. 1 honest read on who you let shape your mood. 1 zoom out when something feels bigger than it is. 1 sentence that turns a wound into forward motion instead of a grudge. 1 separation between the fact of pain and the story you attach it to. 1 obstacle read as instruction instead of injury. 1 deliberate discomfort so fear stops running the show. And 1 reaction already decided before the moment that tests it. None of them need your circumstances to improve first. None of them cost anything. That's exactly why nobody built a course around them. They don't sound impressive enough to sell. There's no single morning you wake up transformed. It's slower than that. A few months in, you notice the version of you that used to get flattened by small setbacks just doesn't as often. And you can't name the exact day it changed because there wasn't one. There was just a habit kept past the point it needed your permission anymore. Pick 1. Not all 9. 1 is enough, because this was never a checklist. It was one thing built solid enough to hold weight before life leans on it. Whichever one made you pause while I was talking, that's your answer. Some part of you already flagged it. Run it for 9 days on purpose. If this helped, a like gets it to someone who needs it today. Subscribe if you want more of this every week. And tell me in the comments which one you're starting with. I read every one of them. You don't need a better year. You need one better habit starting today.